Hey up everyone, and welcome back to the North for, well, not quite another episode of Battle Brothers, but as some of you are aware, as I posted on the Community Hub on Friday the 10th, there was quite a bit of an issue with the most recent update of Battle Brothers that Overhype put out. I think it was 1.5.0.14, I think Edit Northern will probably help me with that number. But effectively, it had quite a lot of issues with a lot of people's saves, namely people with modded saves, but also some people with vanilla saves as well, and it has, unfortunately, corrupted a lot of people's stuff. So if you do play Battle Brothers, I would say keep an eye out on what it's done to any of your games, and make sure that you update the mods from Nexus if you do have any installed currently, as they might conflict with the current update and destroy everything. Now, as you can guess, if you haven't read the community post on the channel, you will know that unfortunately all of the save games and the backup save games and the backup save games I had for the Chodes have been lost to the ether thanks to the updates. And the last save I had was one literally just before we actually built Carebod. It currently doesn't exist, and everyone here is still very, 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 very young. Look at them all. Look how young they all look. Look how all green around the gills they still are. And some characters, surprisingly, still alive. But this is the save point that I was going to use to do a bit of an epilogue, as I did not want to just leave it there and just stop, even though I did put a community thing up. But it didn't feel quite the same. So unfortunately, I am going to have to leave the Chode series there, as I cannot literally recover the save. It is gone. But that does not mean the Chodes are dead. They do get to live on as they wanted to, as one of the biggest powerhouses in the Eastern continent, thanks to all of the people who got involved, all the people who we lost and gained upon the way, to the point that we even started building our own settlement and started to become an actual, effectively a noble house of the Eastern continent. Of that, we can all be proud of. Now, even though this is the end, this will not be the end for Battle Brothers on the channel. I will be jumping into the sequel series. Well, I say sequel, it might not actually take place after this one. I'm still gathering my thoughts regarding what to do with it. But hopefully it will not be long until we are back in the saddle again for Battle Brothers. But I'm sure post-edit Northern is going to put a bit of something together for you guys for the end of this series, as well as some of the subscribers who have written in and helped flesh out this epilogue episode a bit, with some excerpts of what they expect their characters to be doing, whilst the Chodes continue on, unfortunately, away from our guided eyes. But I will say thank you very much everyone who got involved in this series. It was very much appreciated. It is a shame that it is gone, but at least it gets to live on in technically 45 episodes and an epilogue, and I hope everyone enjoyed the journey. And that's the important part. It's not where we got to, it's the journey and the friends that we made along the way. As girthy as that journey was. And remember, at the end of the day, it wasn't the Chodes that were all the way out there that were the most important. It was the Chodes that were inside of us all along. Now, let's see what the Chodes will be getting up to in the future. And let's have a bit of a rehash, a bit of a recap of all the stuff that happened. Wouldn't that be nice? Ciao for now from Current Northern. Let's see what Post One has to say. Centurious Forehammer has been a member of the Chodes for a while now, and it feels like it's his home. Now that his own family disgraced him even more when they heard the news that he murdered his younger brother. He was sad for a while, but one day told himself, fuck them. The Chodes are me people now. As he said those words, he swore allegiance to the Chodes and decided to start the tedious work of trying to make Carebod and Teus a new noble house, one that would hold for the ages to come, and he will keep training the mercenaries into a full military corps, ready to serve Carebod like he did. Ah, Biglet did she? A bastard who was chased away from his noble family, found a new one in the Chodes, and with that his role as executioner. After the sudden disbanding of the Chodes, well, we didn't disband, we just disappeared into the ether, he took up the mantle as the judge, jailer, and executioner of Carebod, where he would eventually meet his end by catching tuberculosis from a prisoner. Oof, what a way to go. Now, Auric stood in the tower, waiting for his recently acquired allies to return after their last departure, hoping that they would understand why he needs to leave. The runes on his arm pulse. He thinks back to the adventures and camaraderie that they had, even though no one really bothered to get to know him. He was okay with that. It would make his parting easier. He rubbed the top of his axe which inexplicably, to some, dug deeper into ghosts than anything. His axe, which would not break. He palmed his shield straps and hoisted it back across his back, ready to go. He looked into the courtyard and locked eyes with the herbalist, which he had grown very close with in their time since the herbalist's hiring. He met the man's shale grey eyes, even as his own eyes glowed a bright, verdant green that matched the light coming from his tattoos. He stepped back a bit, maintaining eye contact before the whole keep was shook by a huge flash of green light. In the place of a tower, now stands a huge beech tree that has completely replaced the tower, and Auric is nowhere to be seen. All that is found is a scrap of his journal with the phrase in Sylvan, "On to more and yet I am lessened by loss." Eventually, someone tries to cut down the tree, only to be violently repelled by a flash of green light. Rumour circles back that many old Thayan nature sites inhabited by the undead and by ghosts have been cleared, usually accompanied by the din of battle, a booming laugh, and bright, verdant lights. With Carebod's walls and towers rivaling the strongholds of Goswin and Grimmen, the hamlet of Teus attracting trade and settlers from far and wide, and the Anatomist's experimental breed of warhound bringing untold wealth to his scientists, it was only a matter of time before the continent's aristocrats grudgingly accepted that the charred house of DNA engineers was a house indeed, and it was here to stay. Whether the Chodes liked it or not, they were now embedded in the land's politics, a ruthless and unforgiving game where rumour and scandal are weapons potent as any sword or spear. Carebod needed a spymaster, and as the man with the most experience with cloak and dagger dealings, the southerner Fidel Vaston stepped into the role with gusto. For many years afterwards, assassin blades and smear campaigns alike were deflected without Carebod's reclusive scientists ever learning of their existence. After many days and nights battling alongside his fellow brothers in arms, Michael Woolston finally hung up his hard-won mystical armour and took up full-time management of the Carebod brothel. Classic. He eventually took a wife, an adventurer from Wolfenfest who found herself smiling and laughing at him, regaling of tales from his time with the Chodes. They both settled in the hamlet of Teus with 2 children and a fine northern hound. But Orwyn, after managing to avenge his father in the sunken library in the south, similar to a place that took Eldrac, Orwyn's father's life before, he has now decided to retire and live his life in a town near Carebod, most likely Teus, and has eventually found a woman he can settle down with, even though, he's still got children running around out there. After many escapades, they eventually have a child, and he names him after his father, Eldrac. For the towering tank covered in metal armour, Albertus lived out the rest of his life as a guard at the entrance of the fort with his heavy clad armour, making thieves think twice of entering the city he swore to defend. Now, living out his life as the head guard of the entrance, nobody would get past his girthy presence. Whilst I am currently recording these, I can hear one of the brothers getting pelted with 100 arrows. Something that should have happened to him a long time ago. Don't think I can. I think the brother knows who he is, but unfortunately I think he just died off screen. Citadel Carebod and its neighbouring hamlet were home to many things: magnificent walls, powerful garrison, a weaponsmith making artifact after artifact to arm its defenders. Few could dispute that the charged house's lands were prospering like no other. While all these things could be found elsewhere on the continent, one was entirely unique: its kennel, and the war dogs bred within it. The hardy nature of the hounds, employed by the barbarians of the far north, had always fascinated Carebod's anatomists. With the help of Didacus and Paradox, a dozen specimens were captured. Weeks of experimentation and years of selective breeding produced a line of shaggy war dogs unrivaled by any in the land. Didacus was content. It was a masterful accomplishment, one that his own mentor Paul could be proud of. Paradox didn't think they went far enough. In the coming months, the Houndmaster's face became a rare sight within Carebod's walls. He vanished into the vast woods, adjoining it for weeks at a time, and returned rambling and dishevelled. Finally, after a vicious argument with Quack, he stormed out into the night with his hound in tow, and a bag full of samples under his arm. He was never seen again. Paradox's absence was felt by his comrades, and a remorseful Quack sent out search party after search party in an attempt to bring him back. The only thing they found, however, was evidence of a vicious wolf pack hounding the hinterlands, devoured deer, ragged remains of rabbits, and even bleached bare bones. No hunters could track them, no hound could find their scent, yet while bandits and enemies scout grew to fear them, they never attacked Teus's livestock or passing caravans. A new species of predator had conquered the woods, and they became safer than ever before. A paradox, if there ever was one. Maximus, the southern gladiator, kept with the company for a good long while. Remaining as an instructor in the gladiatorial arts and polearm play, the southern northerner eventually settled down with a woman named Sarah, a strong and yet compassionate woman who'd often tend to the gladiator's wounds after his matches at Carebod's arena. Maximus and his wife had 2 sons, Romulus and Remus, who went off to begin their own mercenary company, the Sons of the Broken Lance, named after their father's legendary sword lance, their own company seeking to outdo the legend of the Chodes. Now grey, and yet not nearly worn enough for a good naked wrestling match amongst his brothers, Maximus watches over the arena, a smile etched onto his face, and a song forever in his heart, forged by his adventures with his brothers from the Chodes. After their commander sent mostly everyone their way, Colgan would ask to leave the Chodes. If any money were to be given as compensation or otherwise for a job well done, he would instead ask for a construction of a temple. He would start off small, given with his salary, and amass people to gather the words, first to their commander and then of the Chodes, giving them almost a more than human tale about them, how his battle brother and friend Centurius came from a misfortune of events to one of the most known combatants of the Chodes. He would gather as many followers as he could to make their legacy as unforgettable as he could. With the revenge of his son's death well behind him, Wayne Sr., with his new knee in tow, finally retires to a quiet life on a farm, taking in the sun as it creeps over the northern mountains. Whilst his son can now rest, what's to say of the fathers of the sons that Wayne Sr. murdered in his path to vengeance? Will the cycle ever break? Minim, once a slave from the south, then turned Chode, then turned arena champion, has gotten more from his life than he could have ever expected. And finally, after many battles and endless days of travel and sniping, the commander gives him his best wishes and grants him his freedom, the only thing he ever wanted. But being able to see in the dark is definitely a bonus. St. Nick still won't respond to Darth's letters after receiving nothing last time. The Chodes banded together to get something of Darth's choosing, as long as it wasn't blood sacrifice related. But I'm sure they could be persuaded to look the other way. Bolt will still eat literally anything. In the deadly region of Baldrún, much further to the east than the region of Aldrip, the place where we left the Chodes, Rangveld, young brother of Vaetir and cousin of Skarbrand, comes of age, and after his tribe has resettled further east due to the Chodes massacring their men, swears vengeance upon the region of Aldrip and the Chodes that had invaded from the northern continent of Altaria and taken the glory of the lands from them. He now raises a warband together to dominate Baldrún and its paltry lords and ladies, to see them driven before him and to create the largest warband of the land, to march upon the ones he and his tribe see as invaders. But Baldrún is a fickle region, a harsh region. It isn't nicknamed the Shattered Shaft for nothing. Harder men have wilted at the sight. Will Rangveld find his warband, his companions on this journey of domination and glory? Well, you'll just have to find out next time.